Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Today, college athletes want to be paid, and an appeals court is weighing that situation right now. Also, in the months since the most recent water woes began in Jackson, Mississippi, national attention has died down. Donations have dwindled, and volunteers have been hard to come by. We talk about that this morning as well. Also, the Republicans are eating their own. Raynard Jackson, a staunch Black Republican, has gone after Ronna McDaniel, the RNC chair, and we'll tell you why. Also, George Santos is in the news yet again. This guy stole money from a dog? Really? We're going to talk about that as well. But we begin this morning with racism on the job and what dozens of people were doing about it this week on the campus of the University of Michigan. Joining us, of course, is the one and only Austin Cooper. What's up, Austin?
Hey, my brother, how are you? Good morning to you and your viewers.
Well, good morning to you. And let's start this morning. Dozens of people, Austin, gathered on the University of Michigan's campus this week to protest racism on the job. The rally was in connection to a January 2022 lawsuit filed against the United Electrical Contractors, which has offices in Lansing and Livonia, Michigan. Former employees say they face daily discrimination from company managers and nothing was done. Now, this has been something else. Now, you talk about this case, Austin, but racism on the job, who has not experienced some sort of racism on the job?
Almost everybody, who is gainfully employed, whether you've been gainfully employed for a long period of time, as have I, or even those for shorter periods. You were always reminded, and directly or indirectly, that you are black, that you are African American.
Yeah.
There are some who may question, your being there as part of some form of affirmative action. But all of us, when you're in the workforce long enough, experience some form of racism. With these folks at the University of Michigan, one cannot help but be proud of their protests. Dr. King would have turned 94 this past Sunday. We celebrated this great drum major for justice, and it is in the spirit of Dr. King and nonviolent direct action, nonviolent protests, that these folks at the University of Michigan are protesting racism, really racism on the campus.
Hmm.
And it's not just confined to these, I guess they're electrical workers. I guarantee you, it is being experienced by students. It is being experienced by Black faculty on staff, and this is something that is not only confined to the University of Michigan. I guarantee you, it's at on some level, all white
Hmm.
universities across the United States.
Yeah, in the Michigan case, some of the issues, employees were fired or laid off. They were termed pandemic layoffs based on seniority, but white co-workers with less time on the job were kept on the job. Um, but let me ask you, it's all levels, right? It's if you're in management, if you're lower level employee, senior level employee, that racism somehow seeps in. It could be subtle or not so subtle, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, racism permeates, unfortunately, uh, 55 years after, soon in a couple of months, 55 years after Dr. King's assassination, April 4th, 1968, racism still permeates
Hmm.
to a large degree every avenue, all avenues of society.
Are white folks aware, Austin? Would you say that the majority of white folks are aware when they are doing something offensive?
Absolutely. I think most are. I think absolutely most are, and that's and I think that that comfort level with expressing one's racism has manifested itself greatly since Trump ran for president, since Trump served for 4 years as president, and during the 2 years since he's left office. I think folks, thanks in large part to Trump, are more comfortable expressing their racism. And we have to be clear, there was racism in America long before Trump. There will be racism in America, through the end of our days. But uh, the comfort level that folks have with expressing themselves in a racist manner, uh, I do put that directly at Trump's feet,
Yeah.
and many feel comfortable acting like we're in the 50s or 60s.
Yeah. Well, I always love to quote my boy, my homeboy Chuck D. Can't trust it. Can't trust it.
Exactly.
Can't trust it. Power 96 says that racism on the job is American as apple pie. We appreciate Power
Absolutely.
96 watching from YouTube. Um, and of
Absolutely.
course,
Absolutely.
David Youngblood says that being a rabid racist has cachet now. It gets you elected. How about that?
Yeah. Good point, David. Good point.
It
Yep.
does. And he also makes a point, going back to Power 96. He talked about at the campus there at the University of Michigan. He says if those black athletes stop playing sports, the university would change in a heartbeat. In other words, they'd get behind this cause too. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, they need them. That's Magic Johnson's alumni, right? That's where he went to
That's right.
school.
That's right. I forgot about that. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, I wonder if they have reached out to Magic for celebrity celebrity support, and if I may briefly digress, I think that our black athletes, especially when you come from schools like this, have a role, have a responsibility to support uh, uh, these types of protests for basic fairness, non-discrimination on the job. So I would hope that if Magic is not aware of this, that someone will reach out to him and that he will lend his voice to these electrical workers at his alma mater. I
Yeah,
think he
could you
has a
imagine?
responsibility to do so.
Yeah, could you imagine the shift that could
Absolutely,
cause?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, because he is certainly the biggest thing to come out of that part of Michigan. So
Hmm. Hmm.
we will see. Austin, in the months since the most recent water problems began in Jackson, Mississippi, national attention certainly has died down. People are not talking about it. Donations, people are not giving money anymore, and volunteers have gone on to something else. Their already frail water system suffered a days-long outage over the summer and a crisis that sparked national outrage and called attention to the decades of water struggles in that city of 150,000 residents. And 83% of those 150,000 residents are Black.
Absolutely,
And now
absolutely.
nothing, they're not getting any attention, and the situation has not changed. Um, the federal government has earmarked a whole lot of money for Jackson, but what's going on?
That's what it makes no. Well, first of all, I'm glad that the federal government has allocated money, but even it's one thing to allocate money. You can allocate money and still not make it a priority. It's a priority in paper. It's a priority in dollars. But if you're not putting serious action behind those dollars, behind those words, behind those statements, public statements of support, then it's then you're really back to square one. Why are these federal dollars not getting to those in need? Why is this not more of a priority? Why hasn't President Biden not to visit and to see for himself what's going on? This is a national emergency, not unlike tornadoes, not unlike these winter storms that
Yep.
that do damage. This is a national emergency that can impact generations. Drinking unsafe water can lead to deformed babies. It can lead to God knows what types of health hazards for those drinking contaminated water. This is about this is we spend all this money on billions and billions and billions on Ukraine, and I'm all for defending democracy around the world. But I don't think that America can continue to be in a position where we defend democracy around the world while ignoring democracy amongst our own people,
Yeah.
our black citizens in this country.
And we should point this out, and I think this is where David Youngblood is going as well. And I was going to mention this too. A big part of the problem, same thing that happened with the COVID funds. These Republican governors are not using the
Yep.
money. They are rejecting the money. And this is the same thing that's going on with this. The infrastructure bill does provide and has provided I can't remember the number, unfortunately, but it's billions of dollars for this situation. But the governor down in Mississippi, because of politics, because of racism, let's call it what it is. We called it out earlier, right? 80%
Absolutely.
of the residents there are Black.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so the governor down there has decided they don't want quote unquote Democratic money. But the real issue is that if 80% of the residents were not Black, that situation would have been fixed. It may never have happened because those pipes, those system is so ancient that you're going to have these problems. These residents are constantly under a boil water effect. Residents often report that brown water, leaking sewage, and low water pressure. I remember we talked to Michael Regan, the EPA administrator, and he talked about when he went down there and he was outside of a school, he was appalled and he was outraged. He was more than appalled. He was outraged that this sewage was coming out by a school.
Yep.
And so when you play in politics with people's lives, this is what happens.
And it all, it just always circles back to the power of the vote, the power of the ballot, the power of the Black vote. The only way that our people in that state are going to change things is to get out and vote, to vote out the governor, to vote out.
Well, look, and so I got a note too, which that noted that the EPA is investigating how Jackson has handled federal funds that discriminated. They are alleging that they discriminated against his residents.
Yep, great. And how often is this this practice being employed in other communities, other states, and we just have not heard about it because it's not for whatever reason it has not risen to the top of the news cycle. I mean, unfortunately, this was a quote sexy news story, end of quote, last last summer, early fall,
like Flint.
Exactly. You don't hear anything about Flint. I mean,
nothing. And they still
our conditions. Have conditions in Flint improved? I mean, that came to the surface during the I believe the second term of the Obama administration.
Yes.
So we're talking at least 10 years now. So close to 10 years. So
and even in that situation,
what's happening there?
Yeah, you remember with Flint when that happened. You remember all these celebrities, mostly hip hop stars, were taking bottles and bottles of plain shipments of water to Flint and giving them out to residents. And so, yeah, I mean, you can't expect. I don't care what type of celebrity you are, how much money you have. You can't expect that an individual would be able to continue that for the better part of 10 years by themselves.
By themselves.
It has to be both state and federal action that changes that. That's unfortunate. And this is what's happening already in Jackson, that the attention has quickly gone away from the plight of Jackson residents.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it is mandatory for Chairman Benny Thompson and the other members of the his allies with the Mississippi congressional delegation. I suspect he might be lonely, pretty lonely with that delegation. Continue to work with the NAACP
Yeah.
and other interest groups, including the White House. Thank you to the Secretary of the Administrator of the EPA for doing all that he's doing, and I would hope that he will keep his foot on the pedal, and that this investigation not take forever and ever. Amen.
And so this is what happens when the attention goes away and when they don't keep their foot on the pedal. Um, David Youngblood writes in that charges have been dropped for the former Michigan governor who oversaw the Flint water crisis.
Absolutely.
Had the pressure been maintained, do you think those charges would have just went away?
No. No.
It's
not at all. Not at all.
It's because there's no more spotlight there. That was all.
Mhm.
It was a feel good thing to bring charges, right? It was like, okay, it's the right thing to do, or it'll get these people to realize that we are trying to do something here. It's politics is sickening at times.
It was all, it was all part of their master plan, which is what you've hinted to. We're going to do this because of the optics. Wink, wink. But nothing is going to be done, and just give it time to die down. So I'm appreciative to you for making this a topic and continuing to bring light to this important issue, not only down in Jackson, but also in Flint, Michigan. So kudos to you and Greer.
This is what we have to do, Austin. We really
the black press.
you.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
So, Austin, also this morning, the NCAA will ask a federal appeals court next month to block a lawsuit that seeks to have athletes treated as employees who are paid for their time. It's the latest high-profile challenge to amateurism in college sports. The Division I athletes and former athletes who filed the suit that's unfolding in Philadelphia right now are seeking hourly wages similar to those earned in work-study programs. They say the nation's colleges are violating fair labor practices by failing to pay them for their time that they put into their sports, which their attorney said can average more than 30 hours per week. So, there's been last year, I know that there was some movement on the name and likeness issue, trying to get these athletes compensated. When you think about it, so the university's longstanding argument had been that, well, they're getting a free ride, a 4-year scholarship that's in some cases, worth several $100,000. But the revenue that these kids are generating, and you could see it in how they pay the coaches. All the arenas are packed. You never watch a college basketball game where the attendance is low.
Agreed. I did some research before the show, and the Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, in 2022 made $2.7 million. The revenue in 2022 for the NCAA was a little over $1 billion. Mm-hmm. So to pay these athletes, some sort of compensation would not only be fair, but is long overdue. But this points to a broader problem of the exploitation of our players at in all sports, at the college level, as well as the NBA, as well as the NFL, Major League Baseball, soccer. It's just a plantation mentality.
Yeah, Major League Baseball tried to escape this by cutting out much of its minor league system a couple of years ago.
Yep.
So you have these, really, when you think about these athletes college football, college basketball, even college baseball, but football in particular and basketball as well. The risk of career-ending injury is so great in those sports. So imagine someone at 18 years old, a freshman or a sophomore at 20, um, suffering an injury that would prevent them from ever going to the NFL or NBA. How many millions are you costing them?
And not only just playing professionally in their sport of choice, but maybe impacting their income just to have a just to have a regular job.
Yeah.
That comes with great great. If you have serious mobility problems, if God forbid you're in a wheelchair, yeah, you can find work, but it may not necessarily be a lucrative work. And if you have another problem with these NCAA and other sports at the college level is how much emphasis are they putting on these young brothers and sisters maintaining GPAs?
Right.
In the event that they do fall on their back, they have an education to at least fall back on. It is again, it is just the continued exploitation
Yeah, and you can see the
by.
poll here that public opinion is shifting toward folks wanting these colleges to pay these athletes. And here's the other thing with this lawsuit. They're only, and I say only, but they suggested that they might earn about $2,000 per month or $10,000 per school year,
Exactly.
stretched across 5 months.
Yep,
Uh,
exactly, and it's not going to negatively impact doing this. We're not. It wouldn't even be a drop in the bucket to the salary
yeah, they're
of
calling
Mr.
it walking
Emmerich.
around money.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, that kind of, when I was in school, that's the kind of money you can even make that much money doing. We're talking, 40 years ago. I'm aging myself now, but still, I would get in today. I would imagine that $2,000 a month, $2,500 a month is what a student might get for doing, work study.
Well, and this is what they said. It's like a student working in a bookstore or some other job, a non-student athlete. So the athlete doesn't have necessarily the luxury of or the ability because of the schedule to work at a library or another job. That's his
Yep.
job. That's his
Exactly,
after school
exactly,
activity.
exactly, exactly. And if if he or she is dedicating, I think the number you gave out was approximately 30 hours a week, then, going back to my original point, how much time does that leave for maintaining your academics?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the start again, as we mentioned earlier, last year, the U.S. Supreme Court lifted the ban on compensation beyond full ride scholarships, and it lets colleges give athletes education-related benefits like computers and study abroad program fees. So that's a start.
Yep, agreed,
And of
agreed.
course, as of July 2021, athletes can now earn money through use of their name, image, and likeness, and so, that could be millions of dollars depending on the player. And that's only select players who these that applies to really, right? You have to be
Absolutely,
a super
absolutely.
superstar.
Superstar. Yep, yep, yep. Agreed.
And so you gotta figure out a way of leveling the playing field. Look at the money, the television revenue that they
Hmm.
get. Not alone, let alone the ticket and merchandise and revenue, but the television money is unreal.
Hmm. Hmm. And
It's pro sports type
hmm
money.
hmm hmm And this just goes back to our, excuse me, our original, you know, point when we started this discussion. Uh, Racism comes at Black folks in all walks of life, professionally, non-professionally, sports wise. It is just something that we've always had to deal with, and we always will have to deal with.
Yeah. Well, turning our attention to, I love to refer to him as Barrington Salmon's Fool of the Year for 2022. Um,
Barrington, our buddy Barrington.
George Santos, despite growing calls to resign, he has secured seats on 2 congressional committees and the backing of House Republican leadership. But calls to resign is still there, and they are growing louder as he continues to commit blunder after blunder, if you will, or perhaps crime after crime. The latest involves accusations that he stole money from a veteran with disabilities who was trying to get life-saving surgery, I should say, for his dying service dog. Santos supposedly helped this veteran, Rich Ostoff, raise $3,000 for his dying dog through Santos's quote pet charity. But Santos never gave this man the money, and the dog died 6 months later. If all of this is true, and I tell you, at this point, there's no reason to believe it's not true.
Exactly. It's true. It's true.
Guy, does he even have a bottom?
He doesn't. I don't want, I mean, is he related to Trump? Because they certainly come of the same the same ilk, the same mindset. And the sad thing about this is when
look at the picture. Look at that dog.
Yeah. Like even the dog is like, how could you have done this to me? I mean, it just, and I don't mean to make light of this dog dying, but it's just absolutely sad that someone could sink this low. We have 3,000 families that 21 years later are still hurting because they lost a loved one on 9/11 in the Twin Towers. That's a pain that never goes away for these people. And you have someone like Donald Trump, for sympathy, who will say that he knew people in the towers who died. This guy here didn't just say, I know someone, my mother was in the Twin Towers and got out, and they determined that his mother is alive and well. Yep. And that on that particular day, September 11th, 2001, she was at her job in Brazil or somewhere in South America. The danger here is because
she died in 2016, by the way.
Yeah. But the danger of this is, Speaker McCarthy and others are not going to hold him accountable. And what happens when you don't hold criminals accountable? They continue committing crimes, and he's going to continue to lie. More old lies, old stories about this, this nut job here are going to come out. And in addition to that, new lies are going to come out.
Look, Paris Brown of the Baltimore Times writes in that she says he's asking, is he sinking, or is this the character of those that support him? And I think that's a wonderful question.
Paul's right. Absolutely. No, I mean, right on point. This is the new Republican Party. You can no longer deny it. You can no longer credibly deny. Speaker McCarthy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jim Jordan, all these. I mean, this is the new face of the Republican Party.
So you mentioning these names, I haven't even eaten breakfast yet.
Yeah,
maybe it's a good thing.
So we can debate. We can go back and forth on whether Donald Trump is as powerful as he was last year, or as powerful as he was when he left office 2 years ago. But the fact, that's debatable. But the fact is, Trumpism remains. Trumpism lives on through these members of Congress.
It does. Just like the idiot that shot up those Democrats' house because he lost the election by, as you brought out, by 48%, and decided he was going to shoot out those shoot at these Democrats who won.
And with a straight face, he says that I could not have lost because I knocked on a lot of doors. There's no way. I mean, whatever happened to just graciously losing an election, calling your opponent and saying, "Hey, congrats"?
Nope.
And I don't think it's coming back. I don't think it's coming back.
And that 2020 just ended all of that.
Go home. Do an autopsy on your campaign. What could I have done differently? What could I have done better? And
and not to side with one party or the other, we haven't, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't seen the Democrats lose and do and act this way. There's still
Never.
seemingly some sort of modicum of understanding and respect there. These and it's not all. It's not all Republicans. It's certainly the MAGA wing, and
Exactly.
the MAGA wing
Exactly.
is a big part of the Republican Party. David Youngblood says we have devolved to the place where a lie allows you to get elected. Santos is not a surprise, and unless and until we call them out and shun them, we will continue to be a laughingstock. And Carrie Lake, right now, Carrie Lake is still contesting her election, her election loss from November. She lost. She clearly lost. She has not conceded, and not only has she not conceded, she's gone to court. The new governor has already taken over. She's on talk shows, right wing talk shows, and she's going on and on about how they're trying to steal the election. It's like you lost.
You
Take the
lost. You
L.
lost. Accept the fact that you lost, and if you want to run again, do an autopsy. What could we have been done differently? But in order to do a political autopsy on a campaign, you have to accept reality. You have to be dealing with reality. You have to accept that I did something wrong, that we failed in however many areas that you failed. But if you're in denial, if you believe that you ran your campaign 100% the right way, and the only reason we lost is because of cheating, then hell, why do the autopsy?
Yeah. Look, Power 96. I'm laughing because this guy, Power 96, he says Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar, and Lauren Boebert being placed on the oversight committee is nuttier than a Benny Hill episode. You remember Benny Hill?
I remember. That's a good one.
Benny Hill was
crazy.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
I used to see. I was like 8 years old when I shouldn't have been watching no Benny.
No, but this is today's Republican Party. You can't deny it. You cannot say that it isn't.
Yeah. And speaking of Republicans, look, we often have talked about obviously there's been Black Republicans, but then there's the crazies, right? and Raynard is a columnist, Raynard Jackson. You see a picture of Raynard there, and now a staunch Republican, a staunch Trump supporter, going all in on Ronna McDaniel now, calling her Ronna Romney. He says, if you agree with me that Ronna Romney must go, please circulate my latest column to all your friends. In that column, he points out that Ronna, he says, tries to use ghetto politics to get Black voters onto the Republican team. He says he reminded Ronna that Blacks voted for Trump and Trump's policies, not for the GOP. Where do you get these people from, Austin?
I've known Raynard for years. Get along with him well. Obviously don't agree with him on most issues.
Yeah, because sometimes he's like on a spaceship somewhere.
Exactly. But Raynard and others, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren, Boebert. I mean, those folk will eat their own on live TV. They will call you to, they will call you to the arena and say, watch this. And in a serious vein, it's very sad. It's very unfortunate, again, that our politics, particularly on the far right side, have dissolved into this. But here's the question I have: why is with her record of losses, why is she still in contention? My buddy, Michael Steele. I mean, I thought Michael did, okay. I thought he did a pretty good job in his one term.
I was going to mention Michael Steele. Let's face it, Michael Steele is not radical. He is not.
No, exactly.
He's a Republican, which is nothing wrong with that. You got to pick a side.
Exactly.
Yep. But this guy, Michael Steele, has his head on straight. He's not being led by the wizard behind the curtain.
I remember talking to Michael maybe 2 months after he became the chairman. We were at a reception somewhere, and I posed the question. I said, Michael, you've been chairman now for a month or two. How long before you think that within your party they will call for your head? And he said within a week. Within a week of him being, and
Realistic.
yeah, and Michael had a pretty successful tenure. I mean,
Yeah,
keep in mind in
he helped them
2012,
win.
they regained control of the House and and Senate. Yet when it came time to run again, they tossed him out. Why doesn't that same standard apply to the chairwoman,
Yeah,
the
I
current
remember
chairwoman?
we were in Florida. The NMPA was in Florida for a midwinter conference a few years ago, and I called Michael, and he was just ecstatic to talk to the black press. He says, "Yeah, I'll come on. Let's talk. This was about the whole situation with Trump, and he's yeah, let's talk." He says, I'm glad to hear from you, and very very. Ask him about. He says he's a Republican. That's what he believes in,
Yeah, okay.
and he explained why, and it made perfect sense. Just like it makes
Mhm.
perfect sense when someone describes what a Democrat. But he made it clear I cannot subscribe, and that's before it got as bad as it is now. I
Yeah.
cannot subscribe to that type of behavior, that type of politics.
And there
And
are some, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
No, and there are some who will criticize Michael for being a black Republican. I don't have a problem with most black Republicans. I think it's good to have our people on on both sides. And even as a lifelong Democrat, there is a great degree of truth to the fact that the Democratic Party does take the black vote for granted. But I think that I don't have a problem with Michael, despite all of this going on with Trump and the MAGA, far right Republican, not leaving the Democratic Party, because he had made the decision that that he believes that he can bring about change while being from the inside as opposed to the outside. So
Mhm.
that's his decision, and I respect
Right.
his decision to
Yeah.
to try and do so.
Do you remember when Donna Brazil, and I don't think she's still there, but when she decided to go over and work for Fox News a few years ago,
Yeah,
and there
yeah.
was a lot of
She's
questions of what okay, what's that about? And I remember talking to her before her first day. I think it was the day before she was to start at Fox, and I talked to her, and she says it's exactly what you're saying. Sometimes you got to be on the inside to make some changes and
exactly.
to try and make some changes. But obviously that didn't work out. Presumably the way she wanted it to work out. I doubt that it did because they are as radical as ever over at Fox News. Michael Steele isn't Herschel Walker, says Power 96. The GOP only like the yes'em mass of black people, he says.
Hmm,
How about
hmm,
Donald
hmm.
Trump presiding over the I think you told me this, presiding over the
Exactly.
funeral of Diamond from
Yeah,
Diamond and Silk, the minstrel show that went on for several years.
yeah, I got to admit that I met them once. They were friendly. I had to do my best not to burst out laughing.
Yeah.
But it was at yeah, I had a client who asked me to cover the Republican National Convention in Cleveland in 2016. So I went, and I met them, had a brief conversation with them, and just looked at how white folk were just
Mhm.
clamoring around them. I mean, in 2016, these folks were real,
Yeah.
celebrities in
Yep.
in their ride. These are some of the same white folk who were approaching me and asking to take pictures with me. I said, "What do you want to take a picture with me for?" I mean, I'm not. I'm just here covering a client.
You're not
Oh,
gonna
we,
step and fetch it.
we see you on. We see exactly. We see you on TV. I said, "I'm never on TV. I've never been on TV. I don't want to
Mm.
be on TV." But white folk love to. Some
Mm.
love to have you know black folk around to say I'm not racist. See,
And look, let's face it. I don't know Diamond and Silk. I didn't know them, but it had to be for a paycheck, right?
it was a paycheck. It was a paycheck. It was
Uh,
absolutely it was a paycheck. I mean, they were alive. I mean, May Diamond, rest in peace. condolences. I don't wish death upon anybody.
Mm-mm.
I know her family, her sister are in mourning, but Trump doesn't give a damn about them. The only reason Trump is going to preside over her funeral, or memorial service, whatever it is to bring attention to
Himself.
himself and to be in the to be in the limelight.
Yeah, I remember going down to South Carolina when Trump was president to cover a speech he did at one of the colleges there. I don't know why it escapes my mind the college, but um, and it put me right in the front row, and there was this section next to me of black pastors, and they were the loudest, and they were the ones that led the standing ovation when Trump walked onto that stage. And I sat in my seat, and I believe wholeheartedly, and I could be wrong, that Trump was reacting to me just sitting there looking. He grabs the flag, he takes a couple steps toward me. I have photos and everything of this, and he hugs the flag real tight, and he looks at me, shaking his head like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you, you know? And I'm just thinking, eh, how do people get so caught up? How does a group of black pastors get caught up in MAGA?
You know, my dad was a preacher, and he always said, the Holy Spirit moves in mysterious ways. I'm not a preacher, so I believe that the Holy Spirit can move, the Spirit, not the Holy Spirit, the Spirit can move in bizarre, incomprehensible ways. You know, how you can be a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ and support Donald Trump is beyond me. Uh,
Well, what do you say to your
I mean, they
congregation?
don't. Yeah, yeah.
Their congregation, I would imagine that their congregation is mostly black, if not all black. I mean, it was a nice handful, more than a handful, it was probably about a dozen and a half black pastors. They were all black pastors, and so they have to have, I would imagine, a black congregation, and not because it's just Trump, but it's because of what he stands for and what he does, and how do you go to your congregation and tell them that you're supporting Trump? And obviously, you're encouraging them to do the same thing, supporting his policies that were so divisive. How is that even?
Well,
They're
in most
charlatans, is what David Youngblood says. How is that
Absolutely,
possible?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. In most black churches, in most churches, you have a preacher with whom you disagree. Like that. The vestry or the board of trustees would remove him. So, unfortunately, for many of these, the congregations and the parishioners of the pastors you saw there at that rally, I would sadly say that they're most likely in support of Trump, or
Wow.
just don't care, or just not just not
Well, part of
engaged
it isn't part.
politically.
Yeah, isn't part of it to the part of the support that he got and that Republicans get from African Americans, from the African Americans they get it from. Isn't a good part of that? And I don't know, but I'm asking you because perhaps you have your finger on the pulse here more so than I do with this. Isn't part of that the disappointment with the Democratic Party and how they've relied, the Democratic Party for decades now relied totally on the black vote, and black people feel that they've been let down.
Absolutely, and that goes. Yeah, you're absolutely you're 200% on point, Stacy. That goes to my original point a few moments ago that absolutely, in many ways, the Democratic Party has taken us for granted and continues to take us for granted with the mindset of where the hell are they going to go? Here's my response to that. At the end of the day, when the election comes up, state, local, federal, you have to decide who is going to represent my best interests for the next 2 years or the next 4 years. You've got to be educated on the issue or the issues at hand, and it really just boiled down to that. You got to put aside, anger and frustration that we may have with the Democratic Party. Hell, we all do. I do. Every time I go into the booth, I could point to a million things that I wish the Democratic Party would do. I wish the Democratic Party had put more money into the race up in Long Island, wherever George Santos is
Whoever
from.
Santos.
Why
Yeah,
didn't they put
Nassau
more
County.
money into that race? So that's not necessarily black politics per se. I digress. So I have
Yeah.
I question the Democratic Party all the time.
Yeah, Power 96 has to stop doing this to me because I'm laughing on serious topics that you're talking about.
What do they say now?
He's a so cubic zirconia, talking about Diamond, obviously, is having Satan preach at her funeral. Alexa play Nelly. It's getting hot in here. But more,
that's a good one.
This guy, you got to stop writing stuff like that in the middle of when Austin is saying something serious, man. But Mike V, he says that they are black men who have been searching for their masculinity in the patriarchy of white men. Trump is just an avatar of that masculinity that they desire because they don't support Tim Scott that way. That's you talk about nailing it. They don't. Tim Scott. And I understand why you wouldn't want to support Tim Scott, but if you support Trump, why aren't you supporting Tim Scott?
Why not?
Goodness grief! You talk about nailing it.
Yeah.
And this idea, yeah, David, I'm with you, David. He nailed it. This idea of looking for that. It really think about hip hop, and I don't want to put hip hop down because how we feel about a lot of the artists, how I feel about Chuck, Run DMC, Russell and all those guys, LL, my schoolmate. But and in fact, they're not among the crowd that I'm about to talk about. But if you recall, there was this fascination with Tony Montana, the character Tony Montana from Scarface.
That's right.
You couldn't see or hear many rappers not talk about Tony Montana, the world is mine, and say hello to my little friend, and all that stuff. And it's like that was the model for them. And so Trump, as Mike V is bringing out, is like he projects, I guess, with his. Somebody please pull that hair. Is it real? I mean, but he projects this masculinity or this power, but I think it's more of power, like Scarface. It's about power because you remember the line in Scarface: you get the money, then you get the power. You get the power, then you get the women. And that's hip hop for a lot of guys. That's hip hop, right? And for Trump, it's about power and money. And so what Mike V is saying, these black men, this is what they can't see past the power and the money. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. It's unfortunate and it's sad, but my brother is exactly on on point. There are plenty of role models for black men and black women, even at our even at my age, and it's just unfortunate.
If you want a role model, we can start naming them.
Thank you. So why you need to deny your history, deny your ancestry, deny your your blackness. It's like Clarence Thomas, who benefited from affirmative action when he went to Yale, with the Yale Law School, and once he got his, all of a sudden he became an opponent of affirmative action. That's what happens to far too many of us when we, think we've reached the top. We take up the ladder and we deny our blackness.
Yeah. Again, Power 96. Remember, some of our black brothers think Mr. Charlie's ice is colder. Shaking my head. I want ice to cool down my drink. I don't need my drink to be cold.
Exactly. There is a difference.
there is a difference. And Paris says some of us close the door after we walk through, and that is a topic that we need to explore even more, because that is a major pet peeve, and we see it all the time.
All the time.
There's Greer sent me this. I don't want to go too far into it, why she sent it, because we're doing something on this. But someone wrote a column about Jay-Z after he went to the NFL, after he signed that deal with the NFL. And they just simply said that he became the NFL's girlfriend.
Wow.
and
Wow.
you know,
Wow.
and you know that the word that
The
certain
connotation.
communities use
Mhm.
for women, for
Mhm.
girlfriends,
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
and when I read what this guy was saying, when I read what this guy was writing and saying, I mean, look, he was making some serious points, and I'll leave it at that. He was making some serious points about that, because not everybody was happy with Jay-Z in that NFL deal, based with Colin Kaepernick still on the sidelines.
Yep.
Not side
It,
piece, David. Not side.
yeah,
We're talking about the B word.
yeah. But the reality, and sometimes we realize it too late, is that at the end of the day, when Reynard, and when some of the other blacks who I feel respectfully have lost their identity. They may say that about me. Okay, that's fair. Deny or forget that we are black. You know, we can very easily be reminded if you get pulled over by the wrong police officer.
Thank you very much.
I'm a big fan of President Obama. I thought he was a great president. Thought he could have done more for our people in his 8 years. But overall, I'm very proud and pleased of that brother. But at the end of the day, Mitch McConnell and some of those Republicans, despite that, still saw him as the N-word and still see him as the N-word. So at the end of the day, I would encourage our young brothers and sisters is be true to yourself, be true to your people. It's okay to be true to our ancestry. We are all standing, regardless of our political affiliation, we are all standing on the shoulders of Fannie Lou Hamer and Martin King and Medgar Evers and Malcolm X and others. Make them proud. Make yourselves proud, and be true to yourself, despite whatever political differences we may have.
Terry Thomas is watching from YouTube, says Jay-Z is the prime example of a black man sellout in America. Speaking of Jay-Z, Rihanna is on his label, and I don't know what you think of Stephen A. Smith. I try to ignore Stephen A. Smith, to be honest with you. I don't.
No, I don't pay him any
But,
attention.
but, however, as he would say, however, I got a problem with Stephen A. Smith this morning. I got a big problem with Stephen A. Smith this morning. Rihanna's doing the halftime show, and he tried to go in on my baby mama. How in the world he gonna try to go pretty much saying she doesn't deserve it? Saying she's no Beyonce is what he said. Oh my God.
Yeah. And hopefully the backlash that he has rightfully gotten and is receiving.
Yes, he is
will
getting
ensure, will ensure. I mean, has he apologized? Has he tried to clarify?
Actually, can you believe Stephen A? Because he's like, I didn't know they were coming at me like that. Yeah, they're coming at you, and I'm coming for you too.
Rightfully so. I mean, to get in these positions and to try to, take down our,
it's like celebrate it, right? Don't hate.
Yeah. Don't hate.
Of
give
course, she's
people
not
their,
Beyonce. Who's
their
Beyonce?
due.
There's only one Beyonce.
One Beyonce. One Michael Jackson.
But guess what? We can sit here all day debate this, but Rihanna is the only one that Forbes has as a billionaire. Rihanna is doing her thing, and she is doing it well, as LL would say, doing it well.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. It's like, how much more attention do you want, Stephen A? How much more attention do you really need? I mean, it gets to the point where, and there's only exactly, David. There's only one Rihanna, and so let's cut out the nonsense. Let's cut out the nonsense.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
but come on, Power 96 is ignore Stephen A. Smith. His cornbread is baked in the middle. we got to have that guy on the show.
I know.
We need to have him and David on the show.
Yeah, have the both of them in. And now all of a sudden I want cornbread.
Now I want cornbread.
I need to give me some cornbread. I haven't eaten breakfast.
So there you go. Power 96. Me and we're not gonna bake our cornbread in the middle.
Nope. Cooked through and through.
David says some milk. I can't do milk, David. Give me something else. I can't do milk. At the sight of milk, I just get sick.
Yeah.
Austin was eating. Austin himself was eating cereal and milk the other morning. And
Monday.
And he's on camera, and I'm like looking away. I can't do this. What is he doing to me? Who told him he could come on my program and eat cereal and milk? What kind of nonsense is that, Austin?
Pre-show.
Oh my God. What kind of cereal was it?
You want the truth or you want to lie?
Give me the truth and then lie to me.
It was Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops?
That's the truth.
You're too old to eat Fruit Loops.
I know, but that's the truth. And in reality, and the lie was Cheerios, which is good for cholesterol.
If I could eat cereal, Cheerios would be it. And some what's the other one? Sugar Pops. I used to like Sugar Pops.
Sugar Pops. Yep.
Wow, we have really gone down a.
You remember the Sugar Pops commercial and the not.
I remember
the commercial. But you remember the Sugar Pops that on the cereal box, when you were done with the cereal, you could cut it out. The Jackson 5 song.
Exactly.
Was it just the Jackson 5?
It was Jackson 5. I remember the one of them was ABC. Yeah.
Exactly. I didn't even like Sugar Pop, but I would get my parents to buy. My sister would eat them, and then we would cut out the record.
Cut out the record. Yep, exactly. That was it.
Those were the good days. Those were the good days. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have laptops.
Let me tell you something. Saturday mornings,
Facebook,
cereal for breakfast, and after breakfast, we got on our bikes and went to the movie theater to see a double feature: Bruce Lee and somebody else.
Yep. Or you make the mistake and say to your mom or your dad, "I'm bored." Get out of my face before I give you a chore. Oh, never mind. I'm gonna go outside and throw these rocks in the backyard.
And don't come back till the sun goes down.
Exactly.
Oh man. Look, Austin, when I get on the phone with somebody, I try to get off within a few minutes. I hate talk. We've been talking for an hour.
Oh wow. It's 8:30. Wow. Okay. We had fun when we had Power 96 and we had David.
Listen, they turned it out this morning.
I know.
Wow, they came loaded for bear. But we appreciate all y'all. David, Power 96, Terry Thomas, Dr. Nicole, of course. I love you so much. Paris Brown, Mike V. Mike V really nailed it today. We appreciate you, Mike. All of you for watching. Let it be known. And just stay tuned to the Black Press of America, authentic news only, news you can use. And Austin Cooper of the Washington Informer, always a privilege. Thank you so much. And we will see you all tomorrow.